Who
No foolish heroics, if you please.
is Darkman? They destroyed everything he had, all that he loved, everything that he was. Now, crime has a new enemy, and justice has a brand new face.
I was afraid that you wouldn't want me anymore.
Of course I still want you.
The good news is that I know who's behind our little troubles of late. Finish it.
He has the power to look like any man,
These two are both sons of witches!
but he is unlike any man.
I gotta tell you something about me.
He's a cockroach. You think you kill him? And he pops up someplace else.
In the darkest hour,
Julie, who's the real monster here?
there's a light that shines on every human being. But one. From director Sam Raimi, Darkman.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever time of day you've chosen to tune in here. Thank you very much. Welcome to another episode of What the Fuck Did I Just Watch? With Adam and Braden. I am, of course, Adam, and this
It's Braden.
And we are asking this week, what the fuck did we just watch as we explore Darkman? Now, Braden, before we get into discussing the film, before any of that, what do you remember about Darkman from your childhood? Do you remember much? Is this one of your films?
Sorry, all my memories come from about 3 hours ago when I watched it for the first time.
So not much. No, there's no. Did you even know Darkman existed before?
I'd never heard of it before. What, 2 weeks ago?
Wow, there you go.
Never heard of it.
There you go. Well, I can still remember where I saw this film. I can even smell the place I was in. My family had my grandparents had a holiday house out by the seaside, and so we went out there. And I'm like 7 years old when this film comes out. My brother pulls out the VHS tape, and we sit down for a family night with, like, at that time, in their late 80s grandparents,
Yeah.
mum, dad, 7-year-old me, and 19-year-old my brother popping in Darkman. And yeah, I remember the whole film. I remember the bit where he pulls the nail out of his hand and all that sort of shit. And I was just like, this film is batshit mental. I love it. So yeah, I've always had a soft spot for Darkman. I actually remember more about the sequel than I do this one, somehow surprisingly. For those of you that don't know, obviously, spoilers, we're going to spoil the entire film anyway, but in case you're worried about spoilers on part 2, Durant actually comes back from what happens to him at the end of this film.
Well, it's called Return of Durant. Or
Yeah,
something
exactly,
along.
yeah.
It's not really a spoiler.
Okay, valid. But yeah, they recreate the whole, because obviously it's a different actor. In the second one, it's Arnold Vosloo from the Mummy franchise, not the Tom Cruise Mummy franchise, the Brendan Fraser Mummy franchise, playing Peyton Westlake Darkman instead of Liam Neeson. So they have to recreate the whole scene where he gets fucked up by Durant's guys, because obviously you need it with that guy's face now.
Yep.
And it's so much more graphic in the second one.
Yeah.
Like this one, I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, that was kind of tame. Because in the second one, like, he gets half his face burnt off on a hot plate and all sorts of shit.
Wow.
Like, they go to town on him in the second one compared to
Wow.
this one. That's why this one I'm like, oh, is this the PG version? What am I
Yeah,
watching
I was
here?
like, because wasn't this rated R in the States or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could not see how this was rated R at all.
The only thing I think was the part where his hands burn on the coils.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure throughout this whole movie there was not even a drop of blood.
There's a little bit of blood, not much though.
Yeah,
Not as much as you would expect.
I missed it.
There are a few. He has a bit of blood when he gets the nail through his hand. I know there's blood on the guy that ends up like the double mask with the duct tape.
Yep. Oh,
He has
yeah, I
blood
think I
on him.
remember that.
But yeah, like incidents where there should be blood, like where Durant's cutting off people's fingers. No
Yeah,
blood.
what a drop.
Very strange. I guess maybe it's set in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, well, I think Marvel had something to do with maybe not necessarily this movie, but some of the Darkman comics and
Oh,
stuff.
they certainly did. They certainly did. Yeah, Darkman went on to be quite the franchise, just like RoboCop. The 80s were a strange time, even though this was 1990. This what trips my brain out is this film was being made theoretically because Batman came out 1989. This came out 1990. They have to have been filming somewhat simultaneously. At least Batman would have been in post production when this went into production.
Yeah.
So it's amazing how much similarity there is between the two, even though, like, it's not like Sam Raimi could have exactly been influenced by Tim Burton's Batman.
Well, I believe this movie had a lot of issues through post production, so that part of it might have taken longer. So who knows?
Oh, possibly. Anyway,
But, yeah.
so let's get into the recap of what exactly happened here in 1990s Darkman. Liam Neeson stars as Dr. Peyton Westlake, a scientist attempting to create synthetic skin. Before he can perfect his formula, however, he's beaten to a disfigured pulp and left for dead inside his laboratory, which is subsequently blown up, and he is thrown out into the ocean with the debris and shit. The perpetrators of this are a gang of criminals led by Robert G. Durant, who is looking for incriminating evidence that was obtained by Peyton's lawyer girlfriend. Julie!
Yep.
Julie!
Julie.
Anyway, hideously scarred and burned, and now unable to have any feeling thanks to surgery where they cut off the feeling center of his brain or something. Don't ask questions. It's a comic book. He is mistaken for a tramp by Julie, and then basically left to rot in the streets. He finds an abandoned old laboratory and starts working there to try to recreate his synthetic skin to get himself back into the real world. When he realizes, however, that his hands have been taken from him, his face has been taken from him, his life's been taken from him, he instead sets about destroying the criminals who took it all from him, one by one, laying them out in in various ways that are almost Batman-y, and if you kind of excuse the pun there, and that he just doesn't really, like, he's not really fighting them. He's just like, fuck each other up. That's fine with me.
Yeah, there was a lot of Batman-esque
Yeah.
type things in this movie.
So anyway, so finally, in the end, it's revealed that Julie's boss is actually the one behind everything. He's the one that wanted the Belisarius memorandum back because it proved that he was basically bribing everybody to make sure his constructions would be put through. Julie is kidnapped and dragged to a construction site on the knowledge that Peyton Westlake will always follow her. Westlake then tackles Durant and ends up flying his helicopter into a bridge and blowing him up. So it's pretty cool when he comes back in the second one with just a little scar on his face. Quite impressive. That Durant, what a guy. Anyway, so Darkman then impersonates Durant, shows up to try to rescue Julie. However, he meets up with Strack, and Strack basically wants to kill them both, throws Julie off the building. She gets stuck on some rivets that are overhanging it. He taunts and calls Peyton names and points out how ugly he is and shit, and drives a nail through his hand, securing him to one of the walls, or one of the steel beams that will become the walls of a high-rise. Peyton eventually breaks his hand free and throws the guy off the building and is all like, peace out, I'm Darkman. And then the end of the film is Julie being like, we can be together now, Peyton, and Peyton realizing that, no, he can never give her the life she wants, and so his life now is forever changed, and therefore he will become the knight. He's everyone and no one. He's Darkman.
Batman.
Actually, it's not Batman. It's more Sam Raimi wanted to make the Shadow,
Yeah.
and the studios were like, nah.
I really felt like this character, Darkman, was kind of a cross between Batman and Swamp Thing.
Okay, yeah.
He's like a scientist who has become disfigured by his enemy, I guess, and is out to save the girl and for revenge, pretty much.
See, to me, I can see that. I also felt it was a little bit Robocopy in what the hell am I? Because I'm not a man. I'm not a man, I'm not a monster, but I'm somewhere in between.
Yeah.
I actually read a really good take on this online as part of the research for this that pointed out that Darkman, if you just watch part one by itself and ignore the sequels, it'd make a really good origin story for a villain.
Yeah,
In
it
that,
would.
if he went on to just be like a psychopath that went up to eventually fight Batman, you would understand it and you'd almost feel sympathy after all the shit he went through in this backstory to make him go crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. I could see that.
It does one thing it does do really well, I feel, and we can get into the full breakdown in just a second. But one thing it does do really well, in my estimation, is the the anguish, almost the PTSD that Peyton has after seeing how disfigured he is after losing his hands and just feeling like he's a freak. There's something very real about that. Sure, Liam Neeson might be dialing it up to 11 at certain points, but there's just something that I think that's what I really like about this film. What carries over for me is that that performance feel as somebody who's had surgeries, and obviously my face isn't all fucked up, but well, I don't think
Well,
it's fucked
that's
up.
definitely.
But as somebody who's had a lot of surgeries, I can understand the stress and the frustration that goes with that. So this guy having lost everything, he's just he must be losing it. The fact he's losing his sanity makes even more sense to me because
Yeah.
he's got nobody to shoot. Like even when he gets to the prosthetic back on and for the first time and finally gets to see Julian, he's like, "Please just hold me." That to me is the most genuine thing. 'Cause it's like this guy who's clearly been a touchy feely, emotional kind of person. We've seen that at the start.
Mm.
Hasn't had any human contact or any interaction in weeks after going through the hardest, most traumatic shit in his life. Like that will damage you. That will damage a
Yeah.
human being straight out.
Well, they even said that sort of in the hospital after they cut off all his pain or whatever from the brain. They said it would really put a strain on him with, I guess, being removed from everything
Yeah.
and being removed from everything. So
Next, we have a 35-year-old male, no ID, no medical history. He was found on the riverbank just south of the city. There's a sizable population of homeless and indigents there. We get at least 3 no-names like him every week. Nobody does anything about the homeless until they become train wrecks like Mr. John Doe here. He's got burns covering over 40% of his body. The hands and face are the most severe. 10 years ago, pain from the burns would have been intolerable. This man would have spent the rest of his life screaming. Now, we use the Rank-of-Eretz technique. Quite simply, we sever the nerves within the spinothalamic tract, there, which, as you know, transmits neural impulses of pain and vibratory sense to the brain. No longer receiving impulses of pain, you stick him with a pin, and he can't even feel it. As in many radical procedures, there are serious side effects to this operation. When the body ceases to feel, when so much sensory input is lost, the mind grows hungry. Starved of its regular diet of input, it takes the only remaining stimulation it has, the emotions, and amplifies them, giving rise to alienation, loneliness. Uncontrolled rage is not uncommon. Now surges of adrenaline flow unchecked through the body and brain, giving him augmented strength. Hence, the restraints. Naturally, we give them every chance of recovery. Remain optimistic, inspire confidence. Talk to him about rehabilitation potential. Personally, I give him a 9 on the buzzard scale.
Yeah. So before we get into breaking it down scene by scene, just give me the quick. We'll end this ad break on this, Braden. What did you think of Darkman?
I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was great. I didn't love it as much as you did. I've probably got more bad points, or well, I think there'll be questions initially.
Okay.
Where I think there were things that weren't really clear to me. I found whilst watching this movie, and I tried to find the answers online afterwards, and didn't really find answers. So hey, I'll just ask you whilst we're going through.
That's right. I have watched this movie. I would say in my lifetime. I know I've watched Darkman 2 30 to 40 times.
Wow.
Darkman 1 I've probably watched a legitimate 25 times in my life. So I do feel when it comes to Darkman and RoboCop, I'm somewhat an expert as I've even watched the commentaries on these things where I'm like, tell me what the directors were thinking. And then I've yelled at the screen and been like, you're wrong. You are wrong. Anyway, let's throw a quick word from our sponsors, and I'll be back to answer Braden's questions about why Darkman is in fact the greatest film, possibly of 1990.
Do you hate dumb shit? Well, me too. Join me over at BAM TV, where I make fun of all sorts of stuff, with my segments of bad news and cringy capers, plus other skits and shenanigans. Head over to facebook.com/BAMTEEVEE for more info and all the links to the videos.
Right, during that ad break, Braden, I googled what came out in 1990. Yeah, I do stand by the fact this might be the best film in 1990. I mean, otherwise you're looking at Total Recall, pretty good. Something we'll eventually do on this show. I guarantee you, three-titted aliens is something we have to cover. Goodfellas, Home Alone, Pretty Woman, Misery, Dances with Wolves, Ghost, Edward Scissorhands. I mean, you've got great films like Gremlins 2 and Back to the Future Part 3. Really, the best parts of those film franchises there.
Yeah.
Oh, the original Ninja Turtles live-action film did come out that year too. So, you know, I'm actually starting to feel more and more confident that 1990, the introduction of the world to Liam Neeson in Darkman, may be the best film of that year. So let's go. All right. So we start this film off with what was my brother's favorite scene, I think, until Pulp Fiction came out. This is his favorite opening scene ever in a film. Is the
'Cause he's an asshole. Tell him no. Tell him no too. Him, tell fuck you.
Yeah, look, I got to agree with you there. I thought that the movie started with a fucking bang. That whole thing where, you know, I really didn't expect it to go the way it was going to go, where he was, standing there going, nah, fuck you, I'm the boss, I'll control this, blah, blah, blah. And then he just gets all his fingers cut off.
Well, hang on. You're neglecting the fact that they have a gun hidden inside a dude's prosthetic leg.
Yeah, that too. Oh, shit. So, I was really, really impressed by that whole opening sequence, right through to when, you know, Liam Neeson got blown to shit.
Yeah.
I was really impressed. I guess
I like the fact that just before we get into pre-explosion, I like the way they draw attention to him putting the coffee cup on the memorandum, so that you see, like, they just keep, like, they don't beat you over the head with it, like her being like, oh no, you put coffee on this, oh now this ring will never come out. It's more just like, it's there, remember that it's there.
That's the document. The thing is, though, about that memorandum is, how did it get to the lab? I don't know how it got there. How did he get it?
The lab, and he's in a studio apartment. His lab and his home are the same place.
Right. Okay.
That's why when he becomes Darkman and goes into his lair, he's so used to sleeping and shit inside his lab, because he never leaves his lab.
Right. Okay. Well, that makes a lot more sense, because I was just like, how did it even get there? How did they know to look there for it? I don't know. How did that happen?
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah,
that makes sense.
He lives at his lab, so off to one side is like his little area with his bed and his kitchen, I imagine a TV and some shit. And then the main space is taken up with big 3D pin printer things and Asian lab assistants.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. No worries.
So glad I can help you on question number 1. Plot hole stitched back up.
Yep, that's all right. That's okay. I'm all right with that. I guess I thought that this movie did the explosions really, really well.
Mm-hmm. What did you think of Peyton actually getting, like, the amount of, because that's a fucking intense scene. Like, they plastic bag a guy, they basically break his legs.
Yeah. Shoot him and drown him and burn him and fucking everything.
Yeah, they just put him through the ringer.
It was intense. So I really enjoyed. I enjoyed all that sort of opening stuff. Like I said, right from that first scene to when he got blown to shit.
Yep.
It was intense. It was a huge start to the movie. Like I said, I really like the explosions and things like this movie, but I reckon most of the budget probably went into the explosions, because the green screen stuff was...
Oh, man, the green screen stuff. Woo.
That
Yeah,
was
there were two moments in particular. The one where he's crouching on the top of the building, and then one where Durant and
Julie.
the Stork or whatever his name is. Now, let me check his name so I'm not sounding like a.
When they're in the office and the
Yeah, when they're in the office and they're overlooking
the city that they're building and that.
Yeah, and it's just the worst piece. Strack. It's the worst.
Yep.
Just the worst green screen I think I've ever seen. It looks like the foreground is like in like shot like 140p, and the background's in like 10K.
And just feels like there's no sort of depth perception either.
Yeah. Yeah, there's
But even when he got blown out of the building, when it exploded, I was just like, wow, that looked hilarious.
Yeah.
But it was so painfully obvious.
I think though on some level that's Sam Raimi kind of turning up the comic book factor a bit, because in comic books you talked about Swamp Thing, like you and I have reviewed Swamp Thing on a From the Batcave episode.
Yeah.
Remember that death scene where he gets dumped in water, then lit on fire, then runs out of it, burning, and throws himself into a lake? Like that is as ridiculous as this.
Yeah, it did get pretty ridiculous, sort of, I guess, comic booky in a few points. With the way sort of they do the close-ups and reactions on people's faces and things like that.
They also did a lot of the Dutch leans. Did you notice that? Like when, for instance, everything just before Peyton gets blown up is shot just normal kind of wide shot perspectives. And then when he goes to grab the phone and Durant's hand grabs over the top of it, they cut to this shot of Liam Neeson's face, but the whole angle is tilted like 33 degrees.
Yeah,
it's
and
really
then it cuts
unsettling.
to the other guy when he turns the light on, and
like
I like that stuff.
There's shit like that when it's done. When what he does right is done so right, but the technology lets him down in certain areas as well. But the area, like the little things I like, you talk about the fact they spent a lot of the budget on explosions, and they probably did. But the other thing they did really well, in factoring money towards, is makeup, and not just the Darkman makeup, but for instance, when you've got the two Durants, where Darkman's impersonating Durant and Durant turns up, you can tell them apart because the Darkman Durant, his skin's paler and the hair actually looks more like it's a wig, as opposed to the actual Durant, who they've just kind of left very minimal makeup and that sort of stuff. And that's the stuff that I look at and go, oh, that's... Because if you're not, like, if you're in the stressful situation like that henchman, you're not picking up on the fact one of them's slightly more pale than the other.
Oh, fuck no.
But me as an audience member, I'm sitting there going, that's really clever. That's a really nice contrast you've done there to let me know, okay, this is the one I want to root for.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
What did you think of the synthetic skin in its 99 minute?
I sort of questioned why, because at the start, they were talking about, doing all this research into making a synthetic skin and, could heal people and things like that. But he only went, it wasn't really a skin used to heal himself. He made masks. Like, if he was going to go to that much effort to make a mask, why didn't he just make a mask?
I think what they're talking about in terms of healing and stuff is that eventually the healing factor comes where you can put treatments and stuff underneath the skin, but it's more in terms of what I think this film is more dealing with the psychological ramifications of disfigurement. I know that's probably deeper than Sam Raimi ever intended it to be. It's meant to be it's the shadow that he couldn't make, so he just replaced the word shadow with Darkman and left it. But anyway,
why they called him Darkman, because he could only spend 99 minutes in the light when he had this synthetic skin.
Exactly right. Because
I was questioning that at the start as well, and then they had the line at the end where he's like, "I'm everywhere, but I'm nowhere." And
he also talked about when he's in his, just after it all happens to him, and he's like, when they realize the skin last 99 minutes, he starts talking about what it is about the dark. And then when he's down in the dark, he starts talking more about how this is becoming his home. And it's just little shit like that. I think they explored a bit more in number 2 by memory. But he is Darkman because he spends his whole life is now having to be devoted to being in the dark because he can only go out in the fucking daylight for 99 minutes at a time. Unless he's just switching out masks constantly.
See, I sort of thought when they dunked his head in the fluid and everything like that, maybe that would have done something to his face. That's
what I'm talking about. Because when I was watching it, like I say, I thought my memory told me his head went into that pitcher of pink shit. Then they pull him out. Then they press his head onto a hot plate. Then they throw him somewhere else. And so I'm waiting for the hot plate. So I'm like, yeah, that's where his ear gets burnt off and all sorts of shit. But it doesn't happen.
Yeah, because I'm thinking like, oh, there'd be some sort of chemical reaction that's gonna, give him some kind of power, I guess. But any power that he got was basically caused by the surgery that he had afterwards, which pretty much gave him the same powers as Kick-Ass, where
Yeah,
he could take more of a beating.
yeah. He also he perfected the ability to mimic though.
Yeah, that's true. That wasn't really a power. That's more of just
A skill.
a skill.
That's true. But yeah, I guess just going back to the synthetic skin for a minute. I think where they were heading with it was that what he was trying to do was give burn victims their life back. So
Yeah,
let's say you've got a gunshot or a burn wound. If you can get synthetic skin that you never have to replace, you put it over the top, and the scarring's gone. So a lot of the psychological scarring goes away because you still look like you in the mirror to you.
but it's still essentially a mask.
Yeah, still
Yeah,
just essentially a mask. It's just a permanent mask. In the same way that like a prosthetic leg isn't a leg, but it can be
yeah,
a permanent leg.
yeah.
That's what this is. It's a permanent solution to something that was out of your control.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. That makes sense.
So yeah. So anyway, as we say, how fucked up is it that they put him through all that shit? They take the Asian guy's fingers and then they just leave that tapping bird waiting to blow up the.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty messed up.
That's
That's
fucking dark.
that's some fucked up shit there. Just who comes up with that sort of stuff? It's just I don't know. Yeah, burn the fucking living shit out of him and fuck him up and just let him just wait for it to happen.
Yeah, exactly. He just has to sit there and wait and watch. That's cruel.
Yeah,
That's what I actually really like that about Durant. That he's clearly such a sadistic piece of shit, but he's always just so soft spoken and calm. And except for at the end when Darkman's really starting to get to him, he's kind of just relatively like almost mentally calm at all times.
yeah,
Just too calm at all times.
yeah, he really is. That's why sort of I guess at the start, um, in the scene with the black fella.
Mm.
That's why I sort of didn't think that it was going to go the way it did because he was just so calm and just thought he was going to be the one that got the shit kicked out of him.
Yeah, it was really good. I actually I have a theory watching it back today. Durant, the storyline they were going with that they didn't touch on because they didn't want it to be. I don't think Sam Raimi likes painting gay people in a negative way, which is understandable. They shouldn't be, but I actually think Durant was meant to be gay with that younger kid with the glasses.
Oh, okay.
Because he was like kept being like, I'm really proud of you and things like that. And then they were when they were in the diner doing the cash swap with the baldy guy.
Yeah.
He's like,
Hey, Durant wants to know where Rick is, and he is hot. I mean, really hot. I mean, don't ask me why. I know he likes Ricky. Paulie, do you know where the hell Rick is?
like I know he likes the kid and all, but you know.
Yeah. Well, I was reading synopsises and things. Synopsi? San Diego ones.
San Diegans.
Yeah, I was reading them sort of after the movie, and it was mentioning him as his favorite henchman.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's not that there's anything wrong with that. Obviously, I'm just saying that I just think that was part of the character dynamic that kind of goes a little bit underexplored, but in some ways that's better because all these characters are so three-dimensional that they feel like real people. You can sit there and go, was he having it off with his henchmen, and was this happening? And
yeah,
like the other thing too is the time. The one thing I'll give you is I can't work out now as an adult what the timeline of this film is because it feels like it takes place in like a week, but it has to take place over like 6 to 3 months. Because I doubt Julie just buries him, then jumps into the other guy's bed in like 2 days.
Yeah, pretty much. And yeah, to make all those masks and everything, because it took fucking how many hours was it to synthesize the first one from his photo?
Oh God, yeah,
like hundreds of hours.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, so it must be a few months.
He's got to take all the time to be able to learn to mimic them perfectly, and he's almost like stalking them because he seems to know enough stuff about the people to pass to be them, but not enough to be like, you don't have any kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, what's your next question in the lineup there?
This one isn't really a question. Well, I guess it's a kind of a question, but I just found it to be stupid as well. So when he was in the hospital and the doctors were all talking about him and everything like that, Why the fuck did they have him on a spinning frame? They're talking about his mental
Yeah.
well-being and talking about rehabilitating him and stuff, and they've got him strapped to a fucking frame, spinning around in circles like that's going to help.
The only thing I can think of, and it's not a real answer, but like, you know how like you put a substance in a centrifuge and you spin it and it separates out the elements. Maybe
Yeah.
whatever liquid that he got his face dumped into, they're trying to like spin it so it separates out of him. Maybe that's what
Yeah,
it is.
that's not a real answer.
No, but I don't get that. Actually, now you point that out, that's really fucked up. Where it's like, I don't know how he'll acclimatize to the world. Well, especially when he's dizzy as a motherfucker.
I was just like, what are they doing to this poor bastard?
The part that I find most psychotic is you're in a hospital with like syringe needles, but you choose to stab him with a compass.
Yeah, they're just like, he can't feel it. Just check this out. He can't feel it. Stab.
Exactly. Get me my chainsaw. Let me really prove to you that he can't feel it.
Fucking hell. Yeah, so that sort of had me a bit. Yeah, I didn't really know why, what was going on there. I guess another one was, well, some of these are really minor points. I just found these to be really
That's
stupid.
fine.
But obviously, when he left the hospital and he didn't really know where to go, he found a cardboard box and he found a fucking alley where there was, as much fucking running water into it as you could possibly find.
He's trying to
And
keep the
just like-
burns cool.
He couldn't feel them.
Oh,
He's got
damn
no
it.
sense.
Yeah, that's true. Damn it.
And then after that, he went back to his old lab, which was,
No, that wasn't his old lab. That was a different lab. He just found a different lab. During his
no.
wanderings.
He went there first to get all his stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But like, why didn't he just go straight there if he wanted to get out of the weather instead of getting a fucking cardboard box and sleeping in running water?
I think because it was like meant to be that night. Like he escapes the hospital, finds Julie, and sleeps in the alleyway all in the same all within like 6 hours.
I don't know. If I was in a situation like that, I'd find somewhere better to sleep.
Yeah, even sleeping inside your old lab is probably going to be at least a little bit more rainproof.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that one's fair. That's fair.
And I guess one of the other things as well is when he did go to his old lab, how the fuck did he find so much equipment that was still working?
Well, it is a little bit fucked up. Like
He
the
got
computers are all burnt and shit.
into the sky and thrown into the ocean.
Yeah, but that he's hey, yeah, but that's the point though. He got thrown into the ocean, but he didn't get like disintegrated and shit. Therefore, the explosion went upwards and outwards and dissipated much quicker. So it's just realistically blast damage that's occurred in the lab, not fire damage.
But you see the fucking lab, and it's like fallen to shit when he goes back. The roof's like caved in, and there's nothing there.
Yeah, that's blast damage. That's if you had a fire inspector come through, he'd be like, "Oh, this is 100% blast damage, mate."
I'm sorry, not buying that. I seen like the monitor when he set everything up in his new lab.
Yeah, it's melted a little bit.
It's melted on the corner. Come on, that should have been fucked up completely.
No, because that was in the area of the lab that was away from the blast. The majority of the blast took place over by the bedroom annex area. That's because here's the other point too, Braden. Obviously, it took place off to one side. You're not going to keep your big ass canisters of shit next to your computer, are you? You're going to keep those separate. Any good scientist knows that.
How big do you reckon the fucking room was?
It was that entire floor of that fucking building was his apartment.
His gear would have been within like 10 meters of everything.
Nah. I'm saying that this is the same lab that Dr. Bruce Banner was working in the Return of the Incredible Hulk.
He didn't get blown through the fucking roof.
No, but I'm saying it's that same size of lab, and there were multiple explosions in that laboratory, and still pieces of equipment were okay.
Not to the same extent.
Not to the same extent, but he can still do gamma ray radiation in there. My point being, same process here. That look, I don't know what to tell you. You're probably right about this, but there was a lot of damaged glass, which makes me think it was a lot of quick heat that dissipated quickly. Therefore, the other stuff was okay. Just minor damage and burns. Plus, we don't know. Maybe he spent a lot of money getting the toppest of top shelf laboratory equipment that's like military standard grade and therefore blast proof.
Well, who was funding this shit?
I imagine It's like facial skin for people with cancers and shit. The Cancer Council probably funded it.
Well, then why didn't he have a proper lab and not just do it in his house?
Because he was pilfering some on the side so that he could buy an engagement ring for Julie.
Which he didn't even fucking do. He just asked her if they get married whilst catching a fucking taxi. That was a shitty attempt at proposing.
Yeah, I gotta say, I think that's really why she was like, I need to think about it. Because she's like, this motherfucker ain't even got a ring.
Yeah.
How serious is he? Anyway,
Yeah.
what else you got?
Okay, what else? All right, I'll go with a positive one here. I did like how Peyton turned Durant against his henchmen. It kind of reminded me of the Punisher movie a little bit.
Yep.
How he's getting them to do the dirty work for him.
That's actually my only problem with the film is I feel like there's a sequence that happens out of order.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, if you swap the part where he chloroforms the big bald guy.
Yep.
Right. So if you have it be that you can still have it go that way, but he doesn't put the suitcase out until after.
Yeah.
So you have him. He chloroforms so you just see a scene where he chloroforms the bald guy, even if it's just in an alleyway. He chloroforms the bald guy. Then shows up at the meeting, gets the case as the bald guy, gets the case full of money, and then you wake up, you find bald guy wakes up back in his hotel room with Durant kicking in the door, and then he's like, 2 first-class tickets to Rio and the suitcase and all that. We'd all be able to join the dots that Darkman has set all this up.
Yeah.
Because where my problem with it comes in is, okay, how did he afford those 2 first-class tickets before he had the money that he stole from you guys?
Yeah, it's true.
That's the only nitpick I have with it is I'm like, if you just flip those 2 scenes, or either edit it like I said, or just flip them, so he gets the money, then does all the shit to the bald guy, it makes a bit more sense.
Yeah, that's true. That makes sense. I didn't pick up on that one, but yeah, that's true.
What did you think of the part where he gets he's watching Julie at the black tie event with her new beau, the Mr. Construction Colin Friels, and he kidnaps the glasses guy who shot his Asian lab guy in the head. What do you think of when he's holding him out the manhole, like fucking dodging cars with him and all that sort of shit?
I almost thought of Batman, but I also liked it at the end where he's just like,
His name's Robert G. Durant! I told you when I make the pickup! Ah! Oh, God! Don't! I told you everything!
I know, Rick. I know you did.
But let you pretend you didn't!
he's like, yeah, but I'm just going to pretend you didn't.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah, that's what I mean. There's some cool moments in this film. You're like, this guy's a badass.
Yeah, fucking oath he is. It's like Batman, but like really fucking dark.
It's like Batman if Batman was just like, no, I kill.
Yeah, he's just
Or,
like, whatever.
I kill when necessary, but they basically kill themselves.
Yeah.
So that's 2 of the henchmen down. Johnny Glasses, whatever his name is, and Baldy Mick eats hot dogs. They've both been taken out. I love the fact where Durant's like, well, enjoy your flight, and they throw him out like the 7-story window. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was good. I liked it. What else have I got? I think I've probably covered most of it. Yeah, I think I've probably covered most of my. Actually, I probably covered all my negative.
No, nice.
Things. So, I really liked Peyton's face makeup. That looked fucking cool.
With his exposed teeth and all his burnt stuff, and
really understand how he could talk properly, but it looked fucking cool.
Well, he learnt. That's why at the beginning, when he's doing that, it's me, Julie. Because he hasn't. That's what I mean by I think this film takes place over like 18 months.
Yeah, it takes a long time.
And if they'd explain that, like if there'd just been a little bit of, even if it's just like a calendar flipping or something, I don't care how obvious, just something to explain this isn't, because it feels like it should be a week.
Yeah. Yeah, it rushes through, flips through pretty quick.
Even if it was just as simple as it starts with the Belisarius memorandum and he's just done the bribery and they haven't started any construction, and then you move ahead to the final climactic moment where they're fighting on this nearly constructed building, at least you'd understand, okay, shit. A fair few months have passed if they've actually built this giant skyrise in this time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. I like the face makeup. I like, as I say, all the makeup in this film is good. I like Liam Neeson's acting to the most part. His running away from stuff looks really weird. It looks like he's like stepping his knees up to his ears. But I do like, as I say, I like the little stuff. Like, for instance, when they go to the carnival and everything's normal until the guy won't give him the pink elephant. And then there's all the skewed angles start coming back, and like where he bends the guy's fingers like all the way back, and they're like, and it cuts to all their expressions, and there's like different colors on them, and the cracks that start appearing in the his weld and stuff like that. Little things like that I really liked. I almost felt you can see there how this is the guy that would go on to direct the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man series. There's a lot of similarities in them.
Yeah, now that you mention it, actually, there's heaps of similarities.
Yeah, like that first shot where where Durant's guys pull up in their cars and they're all piling out, felt like something out of one of the Spider-Man films.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Actually, I do have one more negative point.
Yep.
Strack.
Yep.
He sucked.
Yeah. Yeah,
what
big waste of Colin Friels.
What did he did nothing.
I feel like there's like half an hour of this film that got cut. Like it was a 2-hour film and they cut it to 90.
Yeah. I don't really even understand what his plan was the whole time. Well, he wanted to build a city and not pay taxes or something. Was that it?
It was, he was buying off anybody who was standing in his way of being. Because if you own all the city, basically he was building all these high-rise apartments because then he can rent them out, make all the money off the rent. But in order to get past red tape and make things happen quicker, he was just bribing people out so that nobody stopped any of his shit. It just plowed straight through.
Yeah, see, that seems really underwhelming.
Yeah, but back in the 80s or late 80s, that was like that was the big controversy back then. To us now, we laugh that off. We're like, that's like what every fucking businessman does.
Yeah, I don't know. I still reckon they could have done it better though. I mean, what was it they were doing in it was something similar to that in Die Hard, wasn't it? Or they were getting all the
in Die Hard they were trying to get the Barra bonds.
Bonds, yeah.
But that's because bonds are untraceable.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That's why they want bonds. In this case, as I say, it feels like there's half an hour of a storyline missing where we see that Strack's been building this empire and all that sort of stuff. It's very strange.
Mm.
So what did you think of the final fight? Firstly, between Durant and Darkman on the helicopter. I actually think it's pretty. The way he kills him and the way he takes out the helicopter is pretty good.
Yeah, I liked the helicopter one. The final one, sort of in the building where they're all on the beams in the construction site. That was kind of shit.
Yeah.
I was just like that was where I was, because it was like the end of the movie, and I'm like, okay, so Strack's pretty much done nothing now except for jump on a few beams.
Like, and fire a big nail gun, rivet gun thing.
And fire a big fucking nail gun.
I did like, there is a shot though when he's beating the shit out of Strack, and you just see these shots of this fist, like Darkman's burnt fist, just swinging into the camera for each of the punches. I don't know why, but I just really liked that shot. I was like, that's actually really impactful that you just keep getting this. Take this, you fucking, take another one.
Yeah.
I did like even the speech about where Strack's like, you won't drop me, you don't have the balls to do it, you're not a killer. And that's where you see the change in Westlake. He's like, no, you made me one. And he lets him go, where he's like, whatever.
Do it, Westlake! But think of this. You let me die, and you become as bad as me, worse. You can. I know you too well. Dropping me, it's not really an option for you. It's not something you can live with.
I'm learning to live with a lot of things.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
That's a good line.
Yeah, it was. I liked
There's some
it.
good one-liners in this.
Yeah, there is. And I really like that this movie doesn't have a happy ending.
Yeah. And the
It's just
cameo
like-
of Bruce Campbell at the end is perfect too, where he just looks back at her, and we all know that's him.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's just so perfect, and it just vanishes. I love it.
Yep. He's just like, I'm fucked. This is the shit that I've been dealt with. That's
I'm
it.
Darkman. I'm not Peyton anymore. I'm
Yeah.
Darkman.
I don't have me missus anymore. I don't have my life.
Well, life can never go back to being the same now because shit's forever
'Cause I'm-
changed.
Yeah, yeah. And that's just it. There's no sugarcoating. That's just it.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
no but. It's just I'm fucked. I'm dark. Dark
Well,
man.
that's the whole thing about this film. There's no fucking around. From the first scene to the end, this film is no fucking around.
Nah.
I think that's
true.
what 30 minutes that we need a little bit of fucking around when it comes to Strack. But otherwise, I think I ultimately say that's probably why the sequel is based around Durant so much, because it's like Durant's the villain of this film.
Yeah, he is. And then I was kind of disappointed when it turns out that he was just kind of the lackey.
Yeah.
I was like, but he was so much better.
Yeah. I think that's why they went the way they did with the film. I also wonder, Colin Friel's never really got another big American film after that, and I wonder if it's because of this role.
Yeah.
Whereas Liam Neeson, on the other hand, I'm pretty sure he's gone on to do some memorable things.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
All right, well, let's throw to another quick ad break here, and then when we come back, we'll get into giving our ratings and our reviews of performances and things like that.
Hey you.
Avid podcast listener, do you like pop culture?
Of course you do.
That's why you're listening to this fine Cabana product. If you want to hear three grown gentlemen discuss the finer things in pop culture,
tune in to the Karma Iguana podcast. Find us on iTunes and all fine purveyors of podcastery.
We can't promise that we're the most informed podcasts, but at least we're a podcast.
Well,
at least we try to be funny.
Well, sometimes.
Yeah, well, there we go. So, Braden, what do you think of best, worst, and just general performances in this film overall?
Yeah, I can't really say that I had an issue with any of the actors, really. Nothing really jumped out at me as saying, you know, that person's doing a shit job. I did really, really like Liam Neeson. And I guess the way he changed between characters of Peyton and Darkman, and the way his voice changed in particular was really cool.
Yep.
Worst, I don't know about actors or anything like that, but worst character, I would just say Strack. He was, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. And I guess where do you rate this thing in terms of, or where do you rate Darkman in terms of superheroes that you like? A lot of like, for instance, RoboCop got a remake. Unjustifiably got a remake when it didn't need one because the original shit is still awesome.
Yeah, of course.
Do you think this is something that deserves a remake or another look at?
Yeah, for sure. I'd watch a remake of this. I'd watch a modern day remake of this. I reckon it'll be awesome. Like I said, it's a story where you've got, I guess, not necessarily a superhero, but it's you know, a comic character or an anti-hero, maybe, I guess. That just does not have a happy ending.
Yeah. In some
and
ways, I felt this. It's made by Universal, which I think helps it, but it feels in a lot of ways like he's an old school Universal monster, like Frankenstein or like the Mummy or like Dracula, where he's actually the evil of his own film. He's just kind of dedicated towards trying to do good things, even though he's an evil monster.
Yeah, I don't really think that they explored him being an evil monster that much, to be honest. I mean, they sort of pointed out parts where he thought that people would perceive him as being a monster. But, I mean, yeah, he killed some people, but, you know, they had it coming. Yeah, I didn't really think that they explored that side of it enough.
I agree with you on that. That's definitely something that if you do a remake, you could explore so well. If you do a remake of this, you can even have the ending of it being him realizing he doesn't need the skin because this is his real face. He'll
Yeah.
always use it to fight crime, but this is him, and I'm starting to learn to love. Like almost the scars released me, and now I can. I wanted to change the world through my skin, but now I can change the world by using it to fucking take down crime.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I gotta say, for me, when the two performances, and perhaps it is because, like I say, I remember Darkman 2 more than I remember Darkman 1. I find Liam Neeson, maybe it's because he's still so new to feature film acting and all that. He feels so over the top in certain moments, particularly since it is Liam Neeson. It's
Yeah.
like, mate, dial it back, bro. Just dial it back. But so for me, I do like Peyton, I do like Darkman, but I actually think Arnold Vosloo does a better job of inhabiting that Peyton Westlake character. There's a lot more gravitas to him. There's a lot more heaviness on him.
Yeah, okay.
He almost feels like, it's funny you were talking about the Punisher. In the second one, he actually is right. He develops a kind of an underground rail system because he's living on the old abandoned underground rail tracks.
Mm-hmm.
And it does feel very much like Punisher, where he's got his secret lair at the end of the tunnel tracks and all that sort of shit.
Oh, yeah.
The funny thing with the sequels, they're actually intended to be released in the opposite order that they were in, but the dude who played Durant came available first, so they shot and released that one first.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, sorry. Yeah, I actually would say the best actor in this, in my opinion, is how am I forgetting this name? Larry Drake, who plays Durant.
Durant, yeah. No, that's fair. I
Because
could see that.
he's such a good villain. Like, even now, I actively want him to die.
Yeah.
It's like I relate it to. Have you seen Mission Impossible: Ghost Protocol?
Don't think so.
Okay, because the villain in that is just creepy. Like, he's just got blonde hair, glasses. He's just creepily, calmly psychopathic. But
Yeah.
but for me, the whole time, like, I've watched that film multiple times. I know what happens in it. I'm not, it's a Mission Impossible film. It's easy to work out what's going to happen. But I
Yeah.
spend my whole time rooting through it, going, I just want to see this guy die. I just want to see him die.
Yeah.
And that's what I felt like here. I'm like, I just want to see Darkman beat the shit out of Durant. It should have gone the other way. If he'd taken down Colin Friels first, then fucked up Durant. Like imagine that he drops him off the building. I'm learning to live with a lot of things. Julie, it's okay. And then the fucking helicopter comes up and Durant's just like, fuck you, Darkman. Bang, bang, bang. Like firing off bullets and shit.
Yeah.
And so he has that big helicopter thing. Like somehow he swings through. So he's grabbed Julie as he's going through, and he's like left her hanging at the bottom of the chain as he's climbed up to battle Durant. And then in the end, he drops back down, ties it to the same ending, but he saves her there, and that's where he leaves her and is all like, "I know, I'm out of here. I am the Dark. I'm Darkman." He fucks off.
Hmm.
Probably worst performance would be. Yeah, I think you're right. It has to go to Colin Friels, which says to me because Colin Friels is a hell of an actor.
Yeah.
And they wasted him.
I'm not so sure that it's his acting. It's the character
script.
just didn't do anything.
Well, I know that there's a lot of stuff that was cut from this film. I know that there was one scene that infamously got cut by the execs because they were very confused as to what the film was meant to be. But
Yeah, I did read that they had a few post-production disagreements.
yeah, well, one scene they cut is there's meant to be a scene of Colin Friels, almost reminiscent of The Wolf of Wall Street, where because he's meant to be so in love with money and all that, he's actually naked on a bed just rolling around on like pieces of gold.
Yep.
And it was just meant to indicate, obviously, that he's just all he cares about is his money.
Yeah.
Which is what the whole film was built around. But yeah, even if, like, the other thing they miss out too is what was that money that was getting passed back and forth in the briefcase? Because they don't explain. They don't explain that. They don't explain why it slows down revenue. This is the stuff Darkman 2 does so much better because you see all the workings of Durant's business, and it really explores how Darkman is able to just slowly fucking eradicate and fuck up this guy's life again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we'll eventually have to do Darkman 2.
I think so. I'd be keen to see it because, yeah, like I said, I'm intrigued with the character. There's so much they didn't explore in this movie with the character. And yeah, if you say they do it in Darkman 2, I want to see it.
Yeah. As I say, I also prefer I don't know why I haven't seen it in a few years, so I'd have to go back and watch it. But I just remember Darkman 2. In the same way that, as you know from as when we talked Swamp Thing, I preferred Return of the Swamp Thing to Swamp Thing. It was the same story here. I'm like, no, the characters are better. The costumes are like the facial makeup in this one at the very end, like where you can see all the bone and gore, looks probably better than anything. But but you can see that it's not always that good in all the other shots when he's got his bandages on and stuff. Whereas you can tell in the sequel that makeup's always there. He's always got this full face of fucked up makeup on, and it looks
no matter
disgusting.
what, if it's covered or whatever.
Yeah. What did you think as well? We've got to talk about this in the recap. But what do you think of that lizard kid? He's a freak. He's a freak at the circus where he pulls up. Like, I didn't get that.
Was that supposed to be some kind of Easter egg or something from the comics or something? I don't know.
No. Well, this is an original character at this point, so there are no comics. Yeah, like I say, the reason this film came about was Sam Raimi legitimately wanted to make his favorite childhood superhero was the Shadow.
Mm-hmm.
And we will eventually do Alec Baldwin's The Shadow on this podcast as well because, that one is something else. But yeah, he wanted to make the Shadow, and Universal, because he just made. Good to remember, this is Sam Raimi. I've just made Evil Dead 1 and 2. Like I've made some cult classic shit. So he wants to make the Shadow, and they Universal basically say, no, we don't want to pay for the rights to that. So Sam Raimi comes up with an original character that is pretty much the Shadow.
Yeah, okay.
And just makes the film he wants to make with Darkman instead. So this is a completely original property at this point. Then once the DVDs, the sequels that's come out on VHS, and the reception of this film comes out, that's when they start making comic books and toys and shit like that. But this is point one in this universe.
Yeah, right. Okay. I'm just sort of looking it up online at the moment, trying to find something. It looks like it was an uncredited actor and everything. So
yeah, I don't get what that was.
Nah, got no idea. Yeah, I don't know. I thought that there must be. I mean, I get why they did it because it was sort of he was ready to come out and say, "Hey, I'm this hideous, fucked up dude, and this is just a mask I'm wearing," and then they did that to sort of put him off that and go, "Nah, this is how the world's going to react to you. They're going to think you're some kind of circus freak or whatever."
Yeah.
So I guess
it was maybe to heighten his stress as well, so that when he does go nuts at the not hardly the ball toss guy.
He was a bit of a toss.
Take the fucking elephant.
He's just like, he wasn't even fucking looking. He's just like, yeah, your foot was over the line. You can fuck off now, please. Thanks.
But yeah, what do you give this 1 out of 5?
I was going to give it a 2.
Mm-hmm.
I think sort of since discussing it, I might bump it up to a 2.5 out of 5.
2.5. I'm giving this one 3.5 myself.
Yeah.
It's not quite as good as I remembered from being a kid, but as I say, I think a lot of my memories are of 2.
Yeah.
But it's still a very good film. I still think people should watch this because in a world where everything is getting fucking remade and nothing is original, this is something that is based on older properties. Sure, like I say, it's the Shadow and Batman put together.
Yeah.
But in doing so, he's made at least Robert Durant is an original villain.
Yeah.
And he's damn memorable.
Yeah, he was.
Damn memorable, even if he has got a stupid finger collection that he polishes the tips of.
It really goes to show how fucked up he is.
Yeah. Apparently that actually freaked the actor out.
Yeah?
Yeah, he's like, this is fucking weird, and he didn't like polishing the fingers and shit. The fingers come back in the sequel too. But yeah, so Braden, I guess in wrapping up, what's your big final thoughts on Darkman?
Final thoughts. I guess I expected this to be better than what it was. Yeah, I did feel it was a little bit lacking in substance, I guess. But in saying that, the character of Darkman is intriguing. And yeah, we've got one decent villain, so I recommend you watch it.
Nice. Yeah, I will say as well that in a world where we've now got the Christopher Nolan Batman series, the Marvel universe, the Warner Brothers DC universe, this film feels very lackadaisical and almost like it wasn't drafted. He was drafted 1 too few times.
Yeah.
But but I think that's because we've come into this world of such great superhero films, and so for me, because I can remember seeing it, but I can, like I say, I can still vividly remember the first time I saw this, and I'd never seen a fucking movie like this in my life. And I think I'll always be tainted with that because I'll always carry that memory of, nah, this was so unique at its time.
Yeah, absolutely. I can imagine that. Yeah, because I was what year was this brought out? 1990. I was 3, so yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, that would have been a very different experience for you watching it compared to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, that brings us to the end of this week's What the Fuck Did I Just Watch? Normally we talk over like an overture thing, but this like of some stupid song that has in this movie, but literally it's Danny Elfman music. You can't tell one from the other, so it's all just the same. So instead of doing that, we'll put in a couple of little clips from the film for people to enjoy here. In fact, you know what? At the very end, you can enjoy one of the greatest scenes in this film. But until then, we should announce what next week's movie will be. Once again, this is a bit of a swap. Braden is normally the one who hasn't seen the films, and I've seen everything. I, however, have never seen this film. Don't know what the hype is about it. Don't even know if I'll get it because it's so many years later since it came out. But next week, Braden and I are talking Space Jam.
Cannot get over the fact you have not seen that.
Well, I'll tell you what, Braden, since we normally have our little bit of banter here about the film, but we can't do that because there's no music to go under this. Why can't you believe that I haven't seen Space Jam? Let's have a little bit of an off-topic 2 minutes here before we close the show.
Because it's Space Jam. Everyone's seen Space Jam. Like, I mean,
Why?
I don't.
Well,
Hey?
okay, as a kid, I'm sitting there, I'm like, it's not, okay, one, it's not a real game. Like, I'm watching wrestling already and getting shit for the fact that this shit isn't real. This is not a real game of basketball. Two, how, you're fighting that, like, I'm sure the animation looks good, but like, I've just seen Roger Rabbit. If I want to see humans interact with animals, I'll watch that way. And three, like, I don't understand why that film was made. Even as a kid, I didn't understand what it was made. It felt so fucking exploitative of, like, Michael Jordan's really popular. Let's put him in a movie with Bugs Bunny. He's popular too.
Yeah, I reckon that was probably exactly the train of thought. But, you know, it wasn't a bad movie. Especially if you... Well, I mean, what year did it come out? I don't even know what year it came out.
I'll check. Hang on.
Yeah, everyone's seen it. I can't believe you haven't seen it. Like, yeah, I've seen it a bunch of times. My wife loves it. My kids have seen it. And, yeah, they're still pretty young, so... I don't know. Everyone's seen this fucking movie.
1996 it came out.
96.
See, I was 13 by then. I was too cool for this shit. I was on to Ace Ventura by that point. How old was I? I was 13.
13. Oh, come on. That's tween. That's a tweenager.
Can I point out to you that, yeah, but me at 13 was watching, like, Friends and adult, like, heavy-duty comedies and shit like Twin Peaks and stuff like that. So Space Jam, to me, I'm like, this is some fucking baby food shit. I'm not watching this crap.
Looney Tunes were always good, though. I don't care how old you are. Looney Tunes are always good.
Want a hot take? Don't really think Looney Tunes are that great. Also, don't really think Disney should get as much of the love that it does. Maybe it's because I don't have kids to see how they react to this shit anymore, and I can't remember my own reactions, but...
No, I could agree with you on the Disney side there. I don't know. I always felt that Looney Tunes were probably not as PC as what Disney are. So,
but yeah, no, I think it comes down to the fact that, as I say, I was watching heavy duty shit by this point. I couldn't understand how I could enjoy a movie. I'm sure next week I'll eat a lot of crow and be like, this movie was amazing. But I just couldn't see.
Say that if you're going to watch it as an adult, you're not going to think it's amazing, but it's not a shit movie.
I just couldn't see how I could enjoy a film that seems so cookie cutter when at the time I was like, no, I want to sit down and analyze Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho to work out why he did the things he did for tension. And I was a weird kid. I also got to remember, I'm the same kid that two years later in this same timeline, so by 1999, is sitting watching Dawson's Creek and like psychoanalyzing that and working out how to control those speech patterns and learning these big words to go along with them. So I was a bit more advanced than just what Space Jam was putting out.
Yeah, sure. No worries.
But anyway, that has been this episode of What the Fuck Did I Just Watch? As I say, join us next week for Space Jam. This was Darkman. Stay tuned in just a few moments. If you're listening for the audio excerpt, if you're watching on YouTube, of course, you're seeing these clips live and in person. But until next time, I've been Adam.
And I'm Braden.
And we'll see you when we watch the next one.
I'm everyone and no one. Everywhere. Nowhere. Call me Darkman. What? What am I? What am I? Some kind of a circus freak? Is that it? Is that it? Some kind of a freak? Maybe I should be wearing a funny little hat. Do you like it? Yeah? Yeah? See the dancing freak. Pay $5. This is the dancing freak. Only $5 to see the dancing freak. Just $5. Yeah. Jesus, God. Oh, keep the lid on it. I'm a scientist. That's it. Think objectively. Analyze. Wait. That's it. Control the rage. Just take it easy, Ben. Just take it easy, boy. I'm a scientist.
Reconstruction program. Reconstruction program complete.
Hey Bat fans, it's the Dad Knight here coming to you from the Batcave. Coming soon will be new and improved episodes of From the Batcave featuring the other members of the Just Us League, Red Thunder, The Probe, LL Cool Elder, and myself, as we bring you weekly video casts featuring DC on TV shows such as Arrow, The Flash, Supergirl, and Legends of Tomorrow, plus all the latest comic book movies and much, much more. Head to www.frombatcave.com for all the info and links to our episodes. That's www.frombatcave.com. Hope to see you there, Bat fans.
This has been a Cabana production.
Liam Neeson is Dr. fuck you.
Dr. Fuck you.